Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast, where we explore sexuality, connection, and power through awareness and intentional choice.
At the Kink Collective, we help people reframe their relationship with sexuality, build deeper connections, and become safe spaces in the world.
Each episode invites reflection, not performance.
And the conversation continues inside Conscious Conversations, our live community space. Welcome to the conversation.
What if the version someone you're reacting to isn't actually who they are?
What if part of what you're responding to is a story you created before reality had the chance to show you the truth?
Because projection doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes projection looks like certainty. You think you know what they meant. You think you know why they did it. You think you know what kind of person they are.
But what if you don't? What if the story you're reacting to is part truth and part fear, part observation and part old wound, right? Part present moment and part history? Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Joshua.
This podcast exists to help people understand themselves more clearly, relate more honestly, and stop repeating patterns they don't fully understand yet.
This month, we're exploring the mirror. The places where our reactions, triggers, assumptions, and repeated patterns reveal something deeper about ourselves.
Last episode, we talked about how what activates us in other people can become information. Not proof, not blame, not shame, information.
And today, we're going to go deeper. We're going into projection. Projection is what happens when we fill in the blanks before we actually know what's true. It's when we assign meaning, we assign motive or identity to someone else, and then respond to our interpretation as if it's reality. There was a time in my life where if someone was hard to read, distant, or inconsistent, my mind would start working immediately. I would start building a story. Maybe they weren't interested, maybe they were hiding something, maybe they were disrespecting me, maybe they were playing games. And what I didn't realize in all of that was I wasn't only responding to what happened, I was responding to what I decided it meant.
That's such an important distinction because something can happen and then we can create an entire emotional reality around it. Someone takes longer to respond. Someone's tone changes. That's a big one for me. Someone seems distracted. Someone doesn't show up the way we expected. And suddenly the mind says, this means I'm not important. It means they don't care. It means I'm about to be abandoned. It means I need to protect myself.
And once you believe the story, you start behaving from the story. You pull back, you over-explain, you confront too quickly. Sometimes you shut down, sometimes you become cold. Sometimes you people please, or you try to regain control. And now if you're not in the original moment anymore, you're inside your interpretation of it.
I've had versions of this too, where I realized I wasn't relating to the person in front of me. I was relating to what they reminded me of, or what I feared they might become, or what I hoped they could be. And that's not easy to admit, because projection can feel like discernment. It can feel like intuition. It can feel like I just know.
But sometimes what we call intuition is actually fear moving faster than clarity. Before we move forward, this is our guest for this afternoon, for this evening or morning, whenever you're listening to the podcast. This is Natalie. This is part of our triad. She's been with us for 3 years. She's the mastermind behind everything you guys read, everything you guys see on the website. She's been the lead on a lot of social engagements and how you folks are receiving our information. So thank you for being with us on this podcast today. I had to drag her here.
We're excited you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here as well. And I do a lot of the social media and the designs and help the organization run as smoothly as it can be.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to have you here to answer questions with us.
And me as well. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about projection. This shows up almost every day of my life.
So,
All right.
what exactly is projection?
Let's define what projection is simply. Projection is when you place your own fear, hope, wound, desire, or old story onto another person and then respond to them as if the story fully belongs to them.
Not guilty of that. Projection can sound like, I already know where this is going. What? I'm out of here.
That's actually come directly out of your mouth, if I'm not mistaken.
This happened yesterday, actually.
No, not at all.
It's like,
It can feel like they're just like everyone else. They're definitely not interested. They're exactly what I've been waiting for. They're unsafe. Or they're perfect. They're going to hurt me. Or they're going to save me.
That's important because projection is not always negative. Sometimes we project fear and sometimes we project fantasy, right? Sometimes we make someone dangerous before they've even shown us enough to know that, right? Sometimes we make someone special before they've earned that kind of trust.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of both of those. And they both can distort reality. Because projection doesn't let the person be fully human. It turns them into a role, into a villain, into a rescuer, a threat, a prize or replacement. Or it's a familiar wound.
And when we do that, we stop meeting the person and we start meeting our own story.
Projection feels convincing because it gives you certainty quickly. And certainty can feel safer than waiting. That's a fact. Waiting requires patience. Waiting requires observation. Waiting requires letting reality reveal itself.
And for a lot of people, waiting feels vulnerable because if you wait, you might have to sit with not knowing. You might have to feel desire without rushing. You might have to feel fear without controlling. You might have to admit, I don't actually know yet.
And that's why projection is so powerful. It gives you an answer before truth has had time to arrive. But faster answers are not always honest answers. So with that, let's jump into frameworks. Not by repeating definitions, though, but by using them. So let's start with I for introspection. Projection speeds up when introspection is missing. If I don't pause and ask, what am I feeling? What am I assuming? What part of this is fact? What part of this is interpretation? Then I'll treat my internal story like external truth.
Introspection can interrupt projection. It gives you the moment to ask, why am I so certain right now? What does this remind me of? What am I afraid is happening? Or what am I hoping is happening? Right? What do I actually know?
These are great.
C is for container. Projection grows in unstructured moments, especially when there's ambiguity. No clarity, no pacing, no direct communication, no agreement about what's happening.
Yeah. Container gives the moment somewhere to land. It allows you to say, I need more information before I decide what this means. I notice I'm making assumptions. I want to slow this down. I don't want to react from a story. This kind of structure protects the connection from your first interpretation. Next is authenticity. Authenticity admits meaning you don't know. Because certainty feels powerful, but honesty sometimes sounds like I'm having a reaction, but I may not have the full picture. I'm noticing I'm filling in blanks. I want to ask instead of assume. That touched something in me, and I want to understand it better.
That is real honesty, right? Not pretending you're neutral, not pretending you're unaffected, right? But also not pretending your reaction is the whole truth. So V is for vulnerability. Vulnerability here is being willing not to know, not to rush into being right, not to protect yourself with certainty, before you've gathered enough truth.
And that shit takes courage. Vulnerability takes courage, because projection often gives us the emotional comfort of a conclusion, but vulnerability asks us to stay in question a little longer. Next comes safety. Projection increases when safety is low. When your body doesn't feel steady, your mind wants answers quickly. It wants to resolve uncertainty. I know that for me. It wants to know who's safe, who's dangerous, who's staying, and who's leaving.
Safety gives you the ability to slow down, to say, I feel uncertain and still stay grounded, to say, I can ask for clarity, I can wait for evidence, and I can let reality reveal itself, right? So now let's look at MISS, and we'll look at projection through that lens, right? Because projection deeply affects how we pace connection, right? So M is for meet. At the meet stage, the goal is neutral observation. You're gathering information, you're noticing how something feels, you're not yet building a full story.
But projection can hijack the meet stage. Instead of observing, you start deciding. You start deciding if they're unavailable. You decide they're the answer to all of your problems. Guilty. You decide they're unsafe. You decide they're different from everyone else. You decide they're just someone from your past, just like someone from your past. And once that happens, you're no longer meeting them, you're meeting the story. That follows up with invest. Investment is where time reveals consistency, but projection doesn't like time. Projection wants certainty now. So instead of letting patterns emerge, we rush, we attach too quickly, we distrust too quickly, idolize or leave too quickly.
Investment slows all of that down, right? It says, let me see who you are over time. Let me see how your words and actions line up. Let me see how I feel when I'm not swept up in fear or fantasy.
And those two are really close together.
Yeah, well,
fear and
they're
fantasy.
twin sides of the same coin, really.
Yeah.
Right? So shared information is next, and this matters because reality needs information. Without information, projection fills in the blanks. And what fills in the blanks is often fear, hope, history, old pain, fantasy.
I mean, that list.
Mixture.
More than one of the above, right?
So this stage asks, can I ask clear questions? Can I share what matters? Can I listen without turning everything into a confirmation story? Can I allow new information to change my mind? And that's a big one for me, is being able to stay open to have my mind changed.
Right.
Because what follows next is shared experience. Shared experience becomes risky when projection still is heavy, because experience creates momentum. And momentum can make something feel real before it has been tested by clarity.
That's why access matters. Access to your time, your body, your emotional life, your attention, your resources. Access should be earned through clarity and alignment, not through intensity, not through fantasy, and certainly not through fear.
So now let's bring this back to you, because everyone projects. I project. Do you project, Marlon?
Yes.
You project,
Absolutely.
right? Everybody projects. This is not about becoming someone who never assumes. It's about becoming honest enough to catch yourself when you do it.
So the goal is not to shame yourself for having stories, right? The goal is to stop worshiping them, right? To stop treating your first interpretation as the final truth. So take your time with these questions, pause the episode as you need to, and write them into your journal or whatever paper you brought. Bring them Tuesday night to Conscious Conversations. Let them work on you slowly.
So before we jump into the questions, what I want us to do is, I want to guide you through this if you're a first timer, because we're getting a lot of first timers in, and this is a great episode to be a first timer in. Every question, because we spoke about this the other day, do we pause after the reading of the question? This is what you're going to do. Pause after we read the question. Don't listen to our answers. Allow your natural response to come out. Give yourself about 3 minutes and then hit play and then hear what we share. And you're going to do this for every question. Don't go back to the question. Just allow this time to set. And then in a day or two, maybe even a few hours, you can go back to the questions and flesh them out, because you'll see how much more information you can extract from yourself when you start to hear other perspectives. So hear our question, pause it, give yourself 3 minutes, and then come back. Because the goal is not to answer perfectly. The goal is to notice where your projection already lives in your life. So, question number 1. Where in my life do I tend to fill in the blanks instead of waiting for clarity? Where do you make meaning quickly? Is it dating? Is it friendships? Is it work, family, community? Where does certainty make you start writing the story yourself? So, where in my life do I tend to fill in blanks instead of waiting for clarity?
Well, keeping in the vein of everything we've talked about, I tend to fill in the blanks when I get activated, right? When something happens and I get that trigger response, that trauma response, and I'm all riled up inside, I will start reaching for filling in the blanks, right? Rather, it's harder for my head to remember, to pause, to ask for more information, to get some clarity. I get wrapped up in being sure that I'm about to be hurt, or something bad's about to happen, or I've got to protect myself, or any of the number of fear, any of the things we've just talked about, start racing through my head. And then I'm much more likely to try to fill in the blanks rather than wait for clarity.
I agree. It's when my nervous system becomes riled up and I notice my heart rate is becoming increased, and I am hypervigilant. Normally my symptoms and my awareness that I'm activated, and I forget the tools that I've developed to be able to stray away from making assumptions about how others are feeling and experiencing about me. And I couldn't agree more.
It's because I'm thinking about whenever I fill in the blanks, and there seems to be a sense of urgency in information in those areas. Like, it makes me think of, we're moving down the road, like almost like I'm driving, and whoever's not passing enough information is in the passenger seat, and I have to take an exit down the road somewhere, but you're not telling me where. So now I'm hyper vigilant the whole way through, because I want to make sure I don't miss it. I want to make sure there's not an inconvenience or a delay. So I feel like if I'm going to be inconvenienced or delayed, or forward momentum or productivity is going to be hampered, then I start to fill in the blanks really quick. If things aren't going according to plan, I fill them in, right? Or if I hear something I don't agree with, I start filling it in. So I think it's anywhere I don't have enough information to feel certain.
And there you have it.
Yeah. Anywhere I don't feel certain, I try to fill in the blanks to find that level of certainty.
Right. Because it's uncomfortable to sit in uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right? It's uncomfortable to wait, especially if you feel like there's a timeline for something, or something depends on the information or whatever. It's like having that space to say to ourselves, well, what would happen if what would happen if I waited to get the information, if I waited, what's the worst that could happen? Which is something that I do. One of the tools that I have to try to work myself around telling myself stories is when I'm confronted with something that feels uncomfortable, or I'm uncertain of the outcome, I will say to myself, well, what's the worst that could happen? Right? And if what's the worst case scenario? And I usually walk myself through that and realize whatever it is, I'll survive. And then it becomes more okay to not know right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I played that game too.
Yeah.
I feel like if there's an intended or expected outcome, is when that happens.
Yeah.
Like I need it to come out this way, and I don't have the information.
Yeah.
An expectation.
An expectation.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes I don't have all the information. I don't give a fuck. Right? There's because you guys are asking me questions. So what's this? What's that? What's that? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just know we're going, right? But then there's other times it's like, well, what the fucking time are we getting there? Like, aren't we what's happening? Do you not want to be on time? Right? It's like I start to fill in, depending on the relationship to the outcome. Depends, right? Because if it's somebody else's shit, I don't need the information. But if it has to do with me and a desired outcome, then that's for sure.
Yeah. And I would also say, in terms of where in my life that happens the most, it's with the people who I have the most don't want to say baggage, but the most eggs in my basket with like my relationships, my love, romantic relationships. I wouldn't necessarily say that it comes up with random people or community who I don't spend a large amount of time with or have a lot of time invested. So it's mostly my invested relationships where I become maybe, I don't want to say overly sensitive, but hyper vigilant within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And more likely to start manufacturing a story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Question number 2. What do I tend to assume when someone is unclear, inconsistent, quiet, or hard to read? Do you assume they're upset? Do you assume they're disinterested, judging you, pulling away, being dishonest? What story comes online first?
This is where I tell my 100 people in the room story, right? There could be 100 people in the room and everybody loves me, but there's one person in the room that has some sort of look on their face and I don't know what it means. I can become totally fixated on it. I'm totally sure it's about me, that I did something, that I said something, that I somehow rubbed them the wrong way, and it feels bad. And it's because it's unclear. It's because it's inconsistent, right? Because everyone else in the room likes me or is okay with me. And this one person seems, they're quiet, it's hard to read, all those things about a person will make me assume they're upset with me. And then what I have learned is to go up to that person and ask them if they're okay. To go up to that person and ask them if I did anything or said anything. That was like mind-blowing. I didn't learn that until I was in my, I want to say, early 30s. I didn't know to do that. Before then, I would just obsess and worry and buy into the story in my head and ruminate about what I thought I could do to fix it or change it or make it different or whatever. And I did that all in my own head, all by myself, right? It took me someone pointing it out to me and to get to that point in my life where I actually learned as a tool, you can just go up and ask somebody and clear it up. And 9 times out of 10, what the person says is, they look at me oddly and then they'll say, I had indigestion. Like the look on their face had nothing to do with me, but I don't get to know that unless I ask and check it out.
Yeah.
And I have to stay calm enough to do that.
That always hasn't helped me, because in their response, in their tone, even if they said, no, I'm not upset with you, I would still think, oh, they're upset with me. Until I realized, until I realized that, oh, I just have to trust them by their word. Like if they say they're not upset with me, they're not upset with me until they tell me otherwise that they are.
Right.
But for a while, that in-between stage for me was even going up to ask somebody if they were upset with me and them saying no did not clear it up, because their tone still told me otherwise.
No, I'm not upset with you.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the what comes to me is, oh, they're upset with me. But it becomes misconstrued as I did something wrong, more so to I am wrong. So it becomes like I am wrong as a person versus I did something wrong to hurt them.
Right. The difference between I made a mistake and I am a mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what the whole activation period is for me, is going in between, oh, I did something wrong or I am wrong, and then realizing that I don't know either of those things, right? I have to have the conversation first.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I tend to assume when someone is unclear? I assume they don't want to be connected to me. I assume that they're disinterested, and it's like there's nothing here to be had.
Yeah. Sounds really disconnecting.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel all of the things, but like in a continuum, like it all ultimately falls down to being, oh, they're going to leave me, like an abandonment feeling. But the first feeling is, oh, they're upset with me. I did something wrong, and then I am wrong. And then it goes down the rabbit hole of oh, they're going to leave me. Oh, they're disinterested. Oh, they don't love me, And that's what I fall down. But if I can catch myself at I did something wrong, and then I am wrong, and I have a conversation, and then I go through the whole process of weaving my way out of it, then I can.
One of the things I was thinking about as you were talking about that a minute ago is the adage that I was taught, that when you ask someone and they tell you they're not okay with you, but you're second guessing if there's a motive behind that or whatever, what other people think of me is none of my business.
Yeah.
Right. And also what I think of you is none of your business. Right. And so that's a tool that's always helped me with that. It's like, all right, if there's a look on your face or there's something I can't interpret, but you tell me you're okay, like you said, I just have to take you at your word.
Yeah.
And if there's some deeper thing you got going on about me, it's none of my business.
That's true. But I feel like that's also much easier to do in a setting in which you have less time invested in the person.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Absolutely. No question.
So when it comes with the people who I am, in romantic relationships with, it's like, well, I'm gonna sit here and ruminate for a little bit, and then I'm gonna cut myself loose from it because I have to trust that you will tell me the truth when you know the truth. If you don't know the truth at that time, you will come to me and you will tell me.
Yeah.
Let me go back to this question. What do I tend to assume when someone is unclear, inconsistent, quiet, or hard to read? I immediately think about people outside my sphere, right? But when it comes to you guys, I feel like I assume I did something wrong, or I upset you guys, or I made something inconvenient, and it's like, how do I make it right? So that's what I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Number 3, as opposed to maybe they're just fucking tired.
Right. That's the thing. Like, what's happening with the other person may have nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Because like sometimes when I always wake up on the right side of the bed, rosy as can be, right?
Absolutely.
But it's like
Yes, dear.
no lies told. But it's like, and then, because what I want to do is like, how do I, putting myself in the other person's shoes, what is that like? Right?
That's a
Like,
good tool.
when you guys are tired or laying down and it's like, but I want to go ask you something. It's like, but I don't want to upset you guys. Anyway, going off track. That's my answer for number 2. All right, number 3. Where have I confused my interpretation of a moment with the truth of the moment? Where did you respond to what you thought was happening more than what was actually said or done? I think we started going into that.
Yeah, every time this comes up, that's what's happening, right? It's understanding that I'm responding to my interpretation and not what's actually happening.
Yeah, and where have I confused my interpretation of the moment with the truth of the moment? Anytime I don't have all the information.
A big one for me is sex and intimacy. So I can often confuse sex with intimate moments when in reality people are just fucking and people are just holding hands. It's like a whole different thing. But that's my big mishmash is seeing the difference between the two, and knowing and trusting that what I'm being told is true. So that's a big one for me.
Thank you.
Especially
That's a good one.
Yeah, especially since I know where it comes from, like my upbringing with my parents not being intimate. So whenever they were, I was like, wow, they're really in love with each other, which never really happened. So when I see it, I'm like, oh, they're in love, and I put that immediately to it. So I have to like reel myself out of it.
Wow.
Interesting.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, did we answer number 3?
I think so.
You answered 3 more?
Yeah, I answered it enough.
Number 4, where do I tend to project more through fear or through fantasy? Do you assume the worst quickly or idolize quickly? Do you make people dangerous too soon or special too soon? Special. Fantasy.
Dangerous. Fantasy. Fear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think yours is
That's
fantasy.
a good question. Do I assume the worst quickly? I think I can go either way.
Yeah.
I could for sure go either way. I can often think ahead too fast, and I can often think back way too fast. Meaning, if like my fantasy can come from a place of, oh, I didn't receive this, and now I'm going to receive it because I can see that there's the possibility and the potential for it, right? So I'm either looking too far ahead and I'm thinking in fear of what if they become this, or, oh, I didn't receive this, so now I'm going to receive this and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of fantasy projection.
I think I do it through fantasy because I am an optimist.
Yeah.
For the most part, like I'm looking for the best in a person, even if it's a worst case scenario moment, like what's his face from here a couple of years ago, Phoenix.
No, I was going to say that
And it
narrows it
was
down.
like, yeah, and it was like even though I had I had information, I still gave it the benefit of the doubt. And the projection was, well, what if he can change in this space?
Right. That's a good example. Yeah. The one place where I can be guilty of the fantasy part is this ongoing issue with me and the universe about wanting a girlfriend. So if I meet a woman, meeting women I get like a schoolgirl about it anyway.
Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs.
But I can meet someone and very quickly decide, oh, maybe this will be the one, right? And I don't believe in the one anything. But that's the one place where fantasy can get ahead of me. You know, I don't have enough information about the person, but I'm already calculating what it could be or what I could get or, whatever.
I was going to say, like, in technicality, you have a girlfriend.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe your fantasy of her.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
No, but this is something you've spoken about for years.
Yeah.
But I
Years.
understand the difference in intimacy and structure. But absolutely, I get it.
Yeah, and it's different now. This is the time before you, right?
Yeah.
But because other than that, it's all fear for me. It's always I always jump to worst case scenario. That's my knee jerk, especially if I'm activated. No question. The sky is falling. I'm like, whatever that little character is that runs around saying the sky is falling. That's me.
Chicken Little.
Yeah, okay, Chicken Little. That's exactly what happens to me.
I did.
Yeah.
Awesome. Number 5. What role do I often most assign people when I truly know them? Do you make them the threat, the rescuer, the authority, the unavailable one, the person who will finally understand you, the person who will disappoint you?
The authority and the rescuer, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the authority. I'd say that too, and because rarely do I put people into a space of threat or to take, because if I feel like that, you're just not going to be here.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, every now and then there'll be someone in our space, within our life who I don't know, and I have to gauge. But I also want to make sure I'm not projecting onto them what I'm not seeing, but what I may be interpreting.
Yeah.
Right? Because how's it go? If you want to find something and you go looking for it, you'll find it in a problem in a relationship.
Right. When
So,
all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if like subconsciously I absolutely do, because like a person could be the rescuer and then possibly someone who disappoint, right? If you can't achieve this, you're gonna let me down.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, the goal is to feel safe who I'm with. So I'm looking for reasons to feel safe with you, but that becomes confused for me because it tells me that I can't be safe with myself. So I'm looking for reasons to feel as safe with you as I can. And if you're in the position of authority and I give you that position of authority, then that means that I can rely on you to hold me and let my guard down. When in reality, I can do that with myself. And if you're not allowing me to do that with you, then that means that I can't continue on, or I have to take myself out of the space and feel grounded and find a grounded position and safe position for myself. But ultimately, that's what I'm looking for in it.
Yeah. I think for me, in my stories, everybody's a threat. Everything's a threat to my emotional stability, to getting what I need or want, or, everything stands to upset my apple cart. That's where my projections all go.
That's fair, Mama.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, it comes from my background, right?
Yeah.
It comes from the loss and the trauma and the stuff for me as a kid. Like, I'm waiting for shoes to drop all the time when I'm in it.
All right. Question number 6. Now, for the folks who have been here before, we've added a few questions and we've shortened the time in the breakout rooms for our Conscious Conversations Tuesday nights. But we wanted to fill it with questions because there's so much information that gets passed in these breakouts that these dive a little bit deeper into what we're processing in these rooms. So that's why we have 6 instead of 4. What evidence do I ignore when I'm attached to my interpretation? What information do you dismiss because it doesn't fit the story? Where do you keep proving your first reaction instead of staying open to reality?
For me, it's anytime I'm activated and I can't get out of it, right? If I'm activated and, my nervous system, if I'm dysregulated, whatever term you want to use for it, right? If that's what's going on for me and I already have a story that's being manufactured in my head, I will stay bought into it. And that automatically means I'm seeing things through a filter that lets me dismiss any sort of reality that would counter that story, right? Maybe the person's not here to harm me. Maybe the person's not any of those things. But so long as I'm bought into it as a story, I can't see those things. I can't see the evidence that would say, I'm actually safe, it's actually okay. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I remove trust. Like, no matter what anyone says, it's really difficult for me to trust anyone's word if it goes against what my story is telling me. So I will constantly be looking for reasons to distrust the person who is telling me the opposite of what my story is telling me in very, very small ways. But mostly it's in regards to language.
That makes sense. I've seen that.
What evidence do I ignore when I'm attached to my interpretation? Consistency. Even if they showed consistency, but then again, I do my best to keep a mind that can change. If you provide me enough information and it shows me otherwise, then I'm obligated to believe it just by my belief system. Like, if the evidence shows, believe the fucking evidence, for the positive and the negative. And I've had such a hard time applying that to the positive. Now that I'm doing it to the positive, I have to do that all the time. So if a person is showing me the evidence and it goes against what I've attached to them, it's wrong if I don't do that. Like, morally wrong if I don't take the evidence at face value for what it is. Because if they had negative consistency, I'd sure as shit believe that. But why wouldn't I do the positive consistency? Even though in the past this person was X, Y, and Z. It's like this whole being canceled shit. There's one person, Chris Darkside, and I'll name you. There's only one fucking person who has changed their pattern from not looking at evidence, and I would project my interpretation of what that meant onto him. And then when he finally sought the evidence and we finally spoke, and he was like, this shit is wrong. And then his pattern changed. I had to not project onto him anymore that he was this type of person, because he showed me his changed behaviors, right? So it's like, but the other person has to meet me there. Like through evidence or intention or something, like maybe not even from a distance, I could watch and dismiss the story that I've been projecting because the information contradicts it. However, in the beginning, it's mostly where do you keep proving your first reaction instead of staying open to reality? In the beginning of a connection, I think I'm more invested into maintaining the story than in a long-term connection. Even if connection meaning I know you, you know me, not us having been together, but a point of reference to each other.
It's interesting. I definitely have to meet myself there. I can't rely on other people to help me see. I've noticed in my own life that it doesn't help me. I will still try to find reasons. Like I have to be the reason to choose to see otherwise, and that's how I get out of my state. And whether there's ways for me to do that and to like release it in my body. I notice I carry it a lot in my physical body, so it really helps to like move and try to find where it's landing.
Yeah, that's a big piece, right? How much of it we carry in our bodies. I'm only beginning to crack the surface of that part of it.
The only time I can't say this is true is for fuckers who stand in the doorways of the train.
I was already thinking that.
I'm like, but who can't I do that? I'm not dismissing any fucking information. You're a fucking asshole.
You guys tired of the people in the train door stories?
We didn't get to keep that episode.
Oh, did we?
We lost that episode.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right.
The triggers.
All right. So before moving into the second round, let's pause for a moment. Let's take a breath. Let's reflect on these two questions. 1, in one sentence, what did you notice about yourself in that breakout room?
In these set of questions.
In these set of questions. And in one word, what are you leaving the set of questions with?
Take a moment and answer those and let that land. Don't over-explain it, just notice it. This is kind of like where we get to take our observations and analyze them. Because you may have been projecting onto your own answers here. And then at the end of it, with these two questions, with one sentence, what do you notice about yourself? Maybe you're projecting onto what you're trying to notice about yourself. Right? So it's like,
that could be.
Give yourself some time with those questions. And this is all here for you. Right? This is all here for you and your self-awareness. So next set of questions.
All right. So this second set is about slowing down your meaning-making process. Right? The process by which we decide what things mean. Take about 3 minutes per question. And remember, the first answer may be the defended answer, right? Or the projection answer, right? The deeper answer usually shows up when you give yourself time. All right, next question. What old experience, wound, or expectation might be shaping how you're reading people now? What history what history of yours may still be influencing your present day interpretations?
I want to go to the birthday party where no one showed up. I want to go there. Because it's like what it is, and I think the first question where we asked if a person is not mirroring, if they're not reflecting back and forth with you, what does that mean to me? And it comes back to they don't want to be here. They don't want to be with me. I don't want someone to feel obligated to be here with me. And that's what shapes what I have in my mind when I'm engaging with people who aren't reciprocating, who aren't mirroring back the desire. It's like, do you really want to be here? Did you come to the birthday party and you didn't want to be here?
No, but I mean, every time you tell that story, I'm like so sad for the little boy that was you, like sitting at your. I always imagine you sitting at a dining room table with like a birthday cake.
No, it was right over there in AK in the community room.
And nobody there in the community room.
In the community room.
Yeah, I get this sad vision of the little boy that was you. For me, it's, my mother dying and getting uprooted and moving to Florida and all the loss that I experienced. That old wounds shapes how I read people now in terms of if I think I'm going to get abandoned, if I think that somebody's gonna, even if I don't think, because if I think somebody's actually going to leave, like I can almost deal with that. It's the ambiguity of not knowing what it means, of not knowing if it means that someone's going to leave or if they're not leaving or if they're saying, and the other thing I was subjected to a lot when I was young was being bullied and being made fun of. And so a lot of times I'll start telling myself a story if I feel like someone's going to make fun of me or if someone's laughing or someone's being sarcastic. That immediately makes me feel bad about myself and makes me feel like I'm gonna be at the receiving end of that. And so I'll start telling myself a story.
Mm. For me, it's actually the wound of my father. I projected and made my own wound onto it, basically, but not being chosen. Having a father who was given a very specific picture of how he was supposed to live his life and doing it in his own life, meaning that he chose my brother and not me in most circumstances. So my wound is I'm not chosen. So I'm constantly looking for reasons to not contradict, but to be in alignment with, they're not choosing me.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was always, I'm going to be living through my son versus I'm going to be living with my son and my daughter, and they're going to be living their lives. So.
All right. What would it look like for me to stay curious instead of becoming certain too fast? What changes would let reality take longer to reveal itself? Curiosity for me is a tool, reminding myself to stay curious. Because curiosity for me is devoid of all of the amped up emotions. Curiosity for me is like comes from a calmer place where I'm just noting what's happening without telling stories about it, without buying into that it means something when I don't have the information to say what it means yet. If I can stay curious, that helps me with the time factor we were talking about earlier, like that we do this when we don't have certainty and that it might take longer to get the certainty. Curiosity is what helps me with that time flow.
Yeah, for me, it's staying curious about my internal systems and my internal voices and where I'm heading with my assumptions, in addition to making sure that I am confronting the people in my life who I'm projecting onto and making sure that I'm asking them questions about how they are experiencing the situation and the experience. But for me, it's mostly the conversation that I'm having with the person who experienced that experience first, usually the little girl, right? And having that conversation flow. But it's difficult because for me, when I've been detached from her for so long, it's, well, how do I have that conversation? How do I soothe her? What do I need to do, right? And just imagining. It takes a lot of imagination and bringing myself back.
Yeah. I think imagination's it's related to curiosity.
Yeah, but usually it helps to imagine myself imagine the little girl and imagine who she would look up to as like her person, right? And usually it's me in my stripper heels being really cunty. Because I would totally look up to her if I was 5 years old.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm like, we're going to get ice cream with rainbow sprinkles. And I grab her.
I love
In my
that.
stripper heels.
I love that.
What would it look like for me to stay curious? Life would be a bit more peaceful. It would be peaceful. It would be less pressured if I did that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not looking for a particular outcome. I'm not looking for anything. I'm just allowing it to exist. Mm-hmm. It's like peace is what comes to mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot less pressure.
A lot less pressure.
All right, next question. Where might projection be keeping me from seeing someone clearly, including myself? Where is the story distorting the relationship? Where is it distorting your own self-understanding?
I think whenever I open my mouth before I have all the details, it eliminates opportunities. Where might projection be keeping me from seeing someone more clearly, including myself? It doesn't allow me to see the full scope. And I end up putting values to it that may not be there, either positive or negative. And even in the projection, it distorts my own self-understanding because that's not who I want to be. So it's like the projection is leading me as opposed to intuition.
Yeah. It's interesting because what I just was being aware of is the part about including myself, right? Like when I'm activated or I'm afraid, I start seeing myself as somebody that's not worthy of being stayed with, or I see myself as someone who deserves to be abandoned or deserves not to have whatever. And then I forget. It's like I forget that I'm perfectly worthy of, like that there's nothing wrong with me, that I'm okay the way that I am. But I buy into the story that says that I'm not okay, that I deserve to be abandoned or made fun of or any of the things. Like if, there's a whole story that gets generated around that. And it's myself that I can't see clearly in those moments. As the adult that I am now, all these years later, I feel like I'm that child.
For me, it's any sign of rejection. If I'm being rejected in any way, it means I'm not being chosen, which hits my story, right? And then that goes to the whole I am not worthy, and the difference between I did something bad versus I am bad, right? But ultimately, it falls down to that worthiness piece. I'm not worthy, and then I'm trying to like puzzle piece my way together into finding a way to make myself feel worthy to the other person, when in reality, my worthiness didn't destruct at all. And I'm just like trying to like pick up the pieces, but there's no pieces to be picked up. Like I don't have anything to pick up. Nothing happened, right? But it feels like I'm like scrambling to be given any sign or feeling of being worthy, and which is ultimately why it's like my first way to do that is, I need to have sex, because then I'm worthy, right? Or I'm being chosen. And that's like my big thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like have to be aware of that when that's happening versus like wanting to have sex. Like it's a whole difference. I want to have sex, I'm horny, and I need to be chosen. There's like three different pathways for that.
I know how I'm gonna be like, Nat, I don't choose you. That's gonna be the invitation for intimate time.
So it'll be extinguished therapy. Yikes.
We're in a dynamic, everyone. So do not try this at home.
Yeah, right?
Number 10.
Fair enough.
What question could I ask instead of assuming I already know? What would create clarity? What would slow the story down? What would invite truth instead of confirming fear?
For me, it's asking intention. What's your intention? I think that's very clear for me.
For me, it's any question that comes from a curious place rather than coming from an assuming place, right? So it's like, tell me what's happening for you, or, asking the other person for their experience from a curious place, not from a place of being certain that I know what the answer is going to be, or I'm sure that I know what they're experiencing, therefore, blah, 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 right? So instead, just being curious and being open to, why don't you tell me what's happening, right? And that would invite truth instead of confirming my fear.
Yeah, I think your curiosity over certainty is it for me. Ask questions. No matter what the fucking questions are, ask questions for clarity.
Yeah.
Instead of just keeping quiet and expecting that I know, or allowing myself to just receive whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. But I mean, can I offer something? Because one of the things that I think I've seen you do in the past is to ask questions that are not from a curious place. They're from a place of agenda. Like, around the anger activation, right? So I think the important thing is asking questions from that curious place where the person, we're inviting a person to be able to tell us their truth. That's the catch for me. To put it into my own terms, it's like not asking questions that are that leading edge of I'm trying to get you to confirm what I'm afraid of. I'm not asking a leading question that's trying to get you to tell me that my story's right. It's a question of me being curious and letting me tell me your truth.
Asking the question yesterday, and it was a leading question, and Natalie changed my perspective with the answer. Because if the answer is confirming my question, then I was right about it anyway. Right? Versus I asked a question and I may be leading it. However, you confirm that it's not true because you answered the question.
Yeah.
And you gave me your perspective, which I was assuming anyway.
So
I wish I knew why this one would end and it starts over. Is there like a 30-minute limit? Instagram? Gotta let us know, Instagram. All right, we're back.
Yeah. And now that you've said that, I can recognize that some of that's my own stuff.
Projection.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that happened yesterday,
Yeah.
and it totally changed my understanding. Because ultimately, it was, to Natalie, why are you looking so far ahead when our issues are right here? And her answer was, because I believe in what we're doing and I want to be ahead of the game. Dreaming versus just having skewed priorities. Very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
And in that information, it relayed to me that I was projecting onto her misprioritizations. When, let's say even if it was, the intention behind it changes the value of the intention anyway.
Yeah.
Well, because what you said was, why are you stressed? And I said, who said I'm stressed?
That was the
initial, and I was like, I didn't say I was stressed. You said, I mean, we didn't go that far deep into it, but that was what was happening.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not stressed.
Yeah.
I'm in a place of looking forward into potential. And there was no stress.
Yeah.
I mean, I was stressed, but not about that.
Yeah.
I was stressed about being in a new experience. But that was like earlier in the day, earlier in the week, not about that moment at all.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes, for me, sometimes these questions aren't easy back and forth. It's like sometimes they're abrasive, sometimes they're coarse, sometimes they're not pleasant, but the information comes out.
Right.
And then everything gets to be replotted.
What I'm recognizing in myself is when questions come that have the edge or like that, I don't know. I shut down internally and I don't know how to say the truth. And then that exacerbates it. I know that every time, right? It's like, you know, when you ask me a question that I feel like has that edge or that has a foregone conclusion attached to it, I like literally become tongue-tied and shut down and I can't say anything. When what I'm hearing you say is if I could show up and tell the truth, it has the potential to change the outcome.
It has 100%.
Right, and I have to get to that place where I can wade through my own fear enough to figure out what my real answer is. And that's on me.
Oh, I'm similar in terms of tone. If the tone goes edgy or it goes any sort of way, I'm out. I'm in a place in which it's really difficult for me to answer any question.
Yeah.
And I'm growing into a place in which I'm like able to like navigate that more smoothly. But it's really hard. The tone will hit me really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
And there you go.
Number
Our stuff
11.
in real time. Next question.
Where do I need more information before I make a decision? Where have you been trying to decide from emotion alone? What do you need to observe, ask, or clarify?
I always need more information if where I am is an activated place and I'm sure that something's not right. Right? Because the truth is in my life, really, there's very little that's cataclysmically not okay. Like what happens in my head when I get sure that there's problems or something's wrong or whatever. Like that driving feeling I get that there's a problem of some kind. And I'm buying now into my story about it, right? It's like I need more information, period, before I decide to do that. And so there just has to be that, like curiosity strikes me as a good tool to use to step in between making the decision and not having enough information.
Yeah. If I feel a sense of urgency that something needs to happen now, then I automatically know that I need to do the opposite of what my body is telling me to do. So if it's telling me to go and talk to that person, I should probably go take a walk.
Yes.
I also try to stay as aligned with what my plan for the day was as possible, so I don't take myself into this like extremely activated place, right? And just knowing that being activated is a part of life. So if I can remain it within my life as I've planned my day to be for the most part, right? I can, it's a lot easier for me to stay grounded.
Yeah.
But usually I need to detach from the person versus have a conversation.
Yeah. No, I get that. Like, because activation can be really derailing.
Yeah.
It can derail a whole day.
Where do I need more information before I make a decision? Where have I been trying to decide from emotion alone? What do I need to observe, ask, or clarify? So I work on a 40-70% type of thing. Like I will make a move with 70% information. However, I decide from emotion when time is of the essence. When there's a time limit, when there's an urgency to something, I decide from emotion alone. FOMO, essentially. I don't want to miss this opportunity. This may not come again, so I'm going to do this. What do you need to observe, ask, or clarify? It all depends on the severity of the decision I'm making as well. If it's something small, going to the fucking movies, sometimes the emotion is joy, and I overlook the responsibility that comes in that meeting that is scheduled for an hour after the movie starts, right? It's like, right? So sometimes I need more information when the emotion is leading the decision.
That's fair.
All right.
All right. So what is one situation this week where I can slow down before deciding what something means? Not forever, not endlessly. Just enough to create more honesty.
I think in anything that any situation where I feel the emotion is making the decision is where I need to slow down. If it's in a discussion, if it's in a choice, but anything where emotion is leading is where I need to slow down.
Well, me and Kat are traveling this week.
I was just thinking, what does it mean about this week for me? Right?
We're traveling to Athens this week, so
You're gonna be projected on a plane to Greece.
but there's an aspect of even though like I'm very, very excited, but FOMO, right? Like what's gonna happen here when I'm gone, that always comes up for me, even though I know how like, there's a piece of me that's like, how can you have FOMO when you're going to Greece? You know what I mean? But I know that comes up for me no matter where I am. So it's more of a like a preparatory diving into, knowing that that's a pattern for me that arises.
It's because I'm such a nice guy.
So whenever that FOMO for me comes up, I would like to just take a moment and have gratitude for the people who I'm going to be with, Kat and my father, as well as the like just do that like five senses sort of thing, like
right.
when I'm tasting, what I'm seeing, who I'm with. Like there's so much gratitude that I have along with it, but there is that contradiction of two things at once, which I don't feel like there's enough permission to experience for myself.
Yeah.
Right? Being in two places.
How about you, Mama?
I think for me, this week, what I'm going to slow down about is this thing about whenever I'm away from working, I feel bad. I'm sure that it means that I'm not doing enough, that I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough. And so maybe this week I can slow down and let myself be on vacation and not decide that it means that I'm a bad person, that I'm not a good coworker, that I'm not a good person to rely on, like all the things I tell myself.
And not project onto yourself.
Right, not project onto myself. Exactly.
Awesome. Did I answer that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Beautiful.
All
Beautiful.
right.
So let's do a quick question review. Before we close, we're going to review the questions from for our upcoming Conscious Conversation session, Month 7, Episode 2, Season 2. The first set of questions, awareness and orientation. Where in my life do I tend to fill in blanks instead of waiting for clarity?
What do I tend to assume when someone is unclear, inconsistent, quiet, or hard to read?
Number 3, where have I confused my interpretation of a moment with the truth of a moment?
Do I tend to project more through fear or through fantasy?
What role do I most often assign people before I truly know them?
Number 6, what evidence do I ignore when I'm attached to my interpretation?
All right. So these are the between round reflection questions. In one sentence, what did you notice about yourself in that round of questions?
In one word, what are you leaving Breakout 1 with?
And then for the second set of questions, integration and reflection. Number 7, what old experience, wound, or expectation might be shaping how I read people now?
What would it look like for me to stay curious instead of becoming certain too fast?
Where might projection be keeping me from seeing someone clearly, including myself?
What question, number 10, what question could I ask instead of assuming I already know?
Question 11, where do I need more information before I make a decision?
And last question, what is one situation this week where I can slow down before deciding what something means?
Projection is one of the reasons relationships can feel so confusing, because we think we're responding to what is real, when often we're responding to what we've made it mean.
And this is exactly why conscious conversation matters. Because you don't just sit with this alone. You bring it into a guided room. You get to speak it. You get to speak it out loud and be witness. You get to hear yourself. You get to hold space and hear others. And you notice where your story speeds up. You notice where your body reacts. You notice where you want to defend what you already decided.
And that's where growth starts becoming real, right? Not in the perfect answer, but in the practice.
In the practice. Conscious Conversations now meets every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For $30 a month, you get access to this live weekly space, a place to reflect, practice, and stay connected to the work.
And for people who want more support, our Integration Circle gives you the Tuesday night conversations, a private WhatsApp group, community, and a monthly live session with us, where you can ask questions, process what's coming up for you, and get support integrating what you're learning.
Also, moving forward, video episodes will be available on Wednesdays, so you have more ways to stay connected to the conversations before we meet live on Tuesday.
As we close, there's 2 questions that we'll be using at the end of Conscious Conversations moving forward. 1, what is one truth you needed to say tonight?
And 2, with this episode, what is your biggest takeaway?
Projection makes certainty feel easy.
And truth usually takes a little bit longer.
So instead of asking, why are they being this way?
Try asking, what am I assuming right now? And what do I actually know?
We'll see you inside Conscious Conversations.
Next week, we go deeper into the emotional charge behind reactions. We're talking about triggers, not just what sets you off, but what your nervous system may already be trying to tell you when it does.
Because projection often builds the story, but triggers carry the charge.
And by the end of this month, we'll bring it all toward ownership. Not blame, not shame, ownership.
New audio episodes drop every Friday.
The video episodes drop Wednesdays. And the work continues on Conscious Conversations every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
We'll see you.